Captain Ethan Cole had always believed that humanity's true destiny was among the stars. He had seen the Earth change through his years in the Space Corps. Polluted skies, dying oceans, and cities struggling to survive under artificial domes. The world had grown smaller, weaker, yet against all odds humans still dreamed of the universe beyond. Now Ethan stood in a sterile white chamber, facing a large cryogenic pod, the key to that dream. The glass surface reflected his calm face, but behind those gray eyes was a spark of excitement, mixed with fear. He was the first volunteer for Project Eterna, a deep space survival experiment. The mission was simple in theory. Put a human into cryosleep for 100 years and test if the body could survive long stasis in space. If successful, humanity could travel beyond their solar system. If not, Ethan would be remembered as the man who tried. Dr. Raina Holt, the project's chief scientist, stood beside him. She adjusted the readings on her tablet, her voice steady but soft. All systems stable. Once you're in, the pod will begin full neural shutdown. You won't feel anything. Ethan nodded. That's good. I'd rather not dream for 100 years. Raina smiled slightly. You might dream of stars, he chuckled. Let's hope I wake up under them. He stepped inside the pod. His uniform had been removed earlier for medical reasons, leaving him only with tiny biosensors that monitored his heartbeat and temperature. The air inside was cool and smelled faintly metallic. The curved walls hummed as the system powered up. Raina's face appeared on the pod's control screen. We'll see you soon, Captain. Sleep well. See you on the other side, he replied with a grin. Then the chamber lights dimmed. The hiss of freezing gas filled the air. Ethan's breath slowed. His heart rate dropped. In seconds, his mind faded into darkness. He didn't know it yet, but this would be the last time he ever saw Earth. When Ethan opened his eyes again, it was as if no time had passed. The first thing he noticed was silence. No sound of machines, no voices, no hum of energy. Just a still, empty void. He blinked several times, trying to clear his vision. The pod's glass cover was shattered. Thin layers of frost clung to his skin, and the cold bit deep into his bones. He tried to move, but his muscles felt heavy and slow. What happened? He whispered, though his voice cracked dryly. He sat up slowly, looking around. The lab was gone. The walls, the instruments, even the familiar white lights, none of it remained. Instead, he floated weightlessly in a dim metallic space. The air glowed faintly blue, and the stars outside shimmered through a vast open window. For a long moment, Ethan could only stare. The stars looked wrong. Too close, too large, too many. He was not in orbit around Earth, he was somewhere else. Panic rose in his chest. He grabbed a floating metal bar and pulled himself forward. Hello? He called out. Is anyone there? Only silence answered. Then a sudden voice echoed inside his mind. It was cold, mechanical, and calm. Biological entity detected, scanning. Anomaly confirmed. Ethan froze. His heart pounded. Who's there? You are human. Organic composition unstable. Reconstruction required. A flash of light surrounded him. Blue beams scanned his body from head to toe. He tried to shield his face, but the energy passed harmlessly through his skin. Cryogenic damage repaired. Neural activity restored. Subject functional. The light faded. Ethan blinked rapidly, gasping for breath. His limbs no longer felt weak. His heart rate steadied. Even the frostbite on his skin had vanished. Whatever scanned him had healed him. He looked around again, now noticing more detail. The metallic room stretched endlessly, with floating cubes and long silver panels that pulsed like veins of light. Strange writing glowed faintly on the walls. No human language, yet oddly symmetrical and beautiful. Where am I? Ethan whispered. The voice responded again, but this time it felt closer, almost inside his head. You are aboard Station Solace. Location classified. Era 10,249 standard cycles since human cryo entry. Ethan's mind went blank for a moment. 10,000 years? Confirmed, he couldn't believe it. 100 years was the plan, not 10,000. That meant everyone he had ever known was long gone. Earth might not even exist anymore. His throat tightened. What happened to Earth? Data incomplete. Solar collapse detected. Human civilization. Terminated. Ethan's breath caught. Terminated. The word hit him like a physical blow. He closed his eyes, trying to steady himself. 10,000 years. Humanity gone, and he was the only one left. He opened his eyes again, forcing himself to think clearly. You said this is Station Solace. Who built it? Constructed by the architects. Purpose preservation of organic intelligence. Architects? Ethan repeated. You mean aliens? Correct. The architects were a collective species that valued adaptive life forms. Humans were selected for preservation due to their resilience. Resilience. The word echoed in his mind. Humans had been saved not for power, not for technology, but for their spirit to survive. He floated silently for a moment, his mind racing. He touched one of the glowing panels and it responded, shifting into a control surface that displayed countless symbols and lines of data. Somehow his mind could read them, not as words, but as thoughts. Neural interface active, the voice said. Subject synchronization complete. He could feel the machine now. It wasn't just an object, it was alive in a strange digital way. It understood him. What are you? He asked softly. I am Vera, caretaker intelligence of Station Solace. You are designated as Commander of Origin. Commander? Ethan frowned. I'm just a pilot, why me? Because you are the last human. The systems await your command. The realization sank in like cold steel. He was alone in the future, surrounded by technology beyond imagination. No mission orders, no crew, no home to return to. But there was one thing humans always did best. They adapted. Ethan took a deep breath and looked out through the large viewing window. The stars glittered brighter now, and he could see a massive structure surrounding a distant sun. A colossal ring shining like a silver halo. Vera, he said quietly. What is that? The Dyson ring, energy source of this facility. It awaits activation. Can I control it? Yes, Commander, Ethan smiled faintly. A spark of determination returned to his eyes. Humanity might have fallen, but as long as one human remained, the story wasn't over. He reached toward the glowing controls. The lights of the chamber brightened and the entire station seemed to awaken at his touch. Initialization complete, Vera said. Welcome back, human. Ethan gazed into the shining horizon of alien stars. He felt the pulse of the machine, the hum of power around him, and the whisper of ancient intelligence waiting for guidance. Let's see what we can build, he murmured. And with that, the last son of Earth took his first step into a universe that had forgotten his kind, ready to remind it what humanity truly meant. Ethan Cole stood before a giant window that showed the endless stretch of stars. The deep black of space glittered with tiny lights, and far in the distance, a glowing ring circled around a bright yellow sun. It was massive, so large that his mind struggled to measure it. That was the Dyson ring, a structure that could capture the power of an entire star. The thought of it made Ethan feel small, but it also filled him with awe. Humanity had dreamed about such technology, but here it was, real and alive, built by alien hands. Ethan floated gently in the zero-gravity chamber. His body now felt different, stronger, faster. His muscles no longer ached from the cold. When he moved, it was smooth and easy, as if his body had been fine-tuned. Vera, he said, still, amazed by the sight outside. Are you sure this place was built by aliens? Yes, Commander, Vera replied in her calm, steady voice. The architects constructed the Dyson ring as a monument to intelligent life. They believed energy and consciousness were connected. Ethan frowned. Then why am I here? Why would they keep a human alive for 10,000 years? There was a pause before Vera spoke again. The architects saw potential in humanity. Your species had a unique trait, persistence even in hopeless situations. They believed humans could lead what they called the Great Continuum. Ethan smiled faintly. We never were good at giving up. He pushed himself toward one of the glowing panels on the wall. It lit up as his hand came close, displaying strange patterns and moving lines of data. His mind translated them somehow, like the knowledge had been placed inside him during the scan. Can you show me the rest of this station? He asked. Of course. The wall shimmered and became transparent. Suddenly, Ethan saw a three-dimensional map of the entire facility. It was enormous, spanning hundreds of kilometers, with layers of corridors, chambers, and energy conduits. At the center was a glowing sphere, the core. This is the heart of Station Solace, Vera explained. It manages life support, gravity control, and the connection to the Dyson ring. Can I go there? Ethan asked. Yes, Commander. A transport platform is available. A small circle of light appeared beneath him. Before he could even ask how to use it, it activated. In a blink, he felt a rush of motion. The walls blurred around him, and when the light faded, he was standing on solid ground inside a massive circular hall, the core chamber. The air here was warmer and soft light filled the space. The floor was smooth silver metal, and in the center stood a floating crystal spinning slowly. It pulsed with golden energy. This is incredible, Ethan whispered. He stepped closer, feeling the warmth on his skin. It's like the heart of a sun. It is a fragment of stellar essence, Vera said. The architects learned how to contain a piece of a star. It powers everything you see. Ethan watched as light threads extended from the crystal, running along the walls like veins. The hum of power filled the air. It was alive. He reached out slowly and touched the crystal. A wave of energy passed through him. Images filled his mind, flashes of stars, alien cities, and vast metal worlds. Then he saw something familiar. Earth. Green fields, blue oceans, clouds drifting peacefully. But then the image changed. The sun expanded, swallowing everything. Oceans turned to fire, cities crumbled, and then darkness. Ethan gasped and pulled his hand back. His heart pounded. I saw it, he said quietly. The end of Earth. Yes, Vera replied gently. Your planet's star reached instability. Humanity tried to survive but lacked the means to escape in time. The architects saved what they could. Ethan clenched his fists. They saved me. They saved hope. Those words hung in the air. Hope. That was what it meant to be human. To keep going, no matter how impossible things looked. He took a deep breath. If I'm really the last human, then I'm not letting it end here. You wish to rebuild? Exactly. I want to bring back what was lost. Can the Dyson ring help me? It can. The ring has enough power to create, to grow, and even to generate new ecosystems. But it requires direction. It requires imagination. Ethan smiled. Good thing humans are full of that. The next few hours were a blur of discovery. Vera guided Ethan through different parts of the station, each one a wonder of alien design. In one section, floating gardens grew without soil. Transparent leaves glowed with their own light, feeding on radiation from the Dyson ring. In another, a massive chamber held thousands of pods like the one Ethan had slept in, empty, silent, waiting. What are these pods? Ethan asked. Preservation chambers. They were meant for other species, however, none survived the Great Collapse. Ethan looked at the empty pods and felt a heavy weight in his chest. So many lives, lost to time. He was truly alone, but that loneliness only made his resolve stronger. Can these pods grow new life? Yes. With proper DNA data, they can replicate organic matter. Ethan thought for a moment. Human DNA was stored with me, wasn't it? Confirmed. A spark of excitement filled his eyes. Then maybe humanity doesn't have to be gone. That decision belongs to you, Commander. He nodded slowly. Then we'll start small. I want to learn everything about this place first. If I rebuild, I'll do it right. Vera seemed to pause, as if considering his words. Then she said, You speak like an architect. Maybe that's what humans were meant to be, Ethan replied. Later, Ethan returned to the main viewing deck. The Dyson ring shimmered in the distance, reflecting sunlight like an endless mirror. He felt its energy through the station walls. It was like standing next to a living being. Vera, he said softly, can you show me what's on the surface of that ring? Yes, Commander. A section of the window transformed into a screen, showing live visuals of the ring's surface. It was breathtaking. Vast fields of metal plains, rivers of light, and towers that reached into the sky. But it was empty. No movement, no signs of life. The Dyson ring awaits reactivation, Vera explained. Only a human neural pattern can unlock its creative functions. Ethan stared at the screen, deep in thought. Then I'll do it. He placed his palm against the glowing control pad. A golden light surrounded him. The ring responded instantly. The metal planes began to shift, forming patterns and geometric waves. The once dark surface now glowed with energy, spreading across its massive circumference. Reactivation in progress, Vera announced. Systems awakening. Ethan felt a rush of emotion. He wasn't just watching, he was creating. The ring came alive under his command. It was as if it had been waiting for him, for humanity, to return. Vera, he said with a faint smile, you said this station sees me as its commander, right? Yes. Then I order you to help me rebuild. We'll make something new here, something worthy of all those who came before. Understood. Initializing reconstruction protocols. All around the station, lights flared to life. The hum of machinery echoed through the halls. The Dyson ring shimmered brighter, reflecting across the void like a new sunrise. For the first time in 10,000 years, the great structure awoke to a human voice. Ethan stood tall, his reflection glowing in the glass. The world ended once, he said quietly, but humanity doesn't end that easily. As the station systems came fully online, Vera's tone changed slightly, softer, almost warm. Commander, your species always dreamed of the stars. Perhaps this is where that dream begins again. Ethan looked out at the endless space before him. No, he said with a determined smile. This is where it continues. The next cycle began with light spreading through the station's metallic halls. Every panel glowed in warm gold. Every surface hummed with new life. For the first time in thousands of years, Station Solace was awake again, and the hum of activity echoed like a heartbeat through the cold vacuum of space. Ethan Cole stood at the center of the control deck, looking at the growing energy readings on the screen. The Dyson ring was fully active now, capturing the power of the nearby star and converting it into endless energy. He had done it. A human had awakened a dead alien world. He couldn't help but smile. Looks like we're back in business, Vera. All systems are operational, Commander, the AI's calm voice replied. Power output exceeds safe limits. I recommend controlled dispersion, Ethan chuckled. Even the universe can't handle a human touch, huh? Your humor remains statistically confusing, Vera replied, but her tone carried a faint softness that almost sounded amused. Ethan shook his head and focused. Let's begin the next step. You said there were archives, memories of the ones who built this place? Yes. The architects stored their history inside the core memory chambers. However, access requires human presence to activate. Then let's go see what the universe remembers, he said, floating toward the transport circle. The teleportation light faded, and Ethan found himself standing in a vast hall of silver and glass. The walls were lined with crystal pillars, each one glowing faintly with a different hue, blue, green, gold, and red. They stretched endlessly into the distance like an ocean of frozen stars. What is this place? He whispered. The memory vault, Vera said. Each pillar contains recorded experiences, not only of the architects but of the civilizations they studied. Ethan walked among the glowing columns, his reflection flickering across their smooth surfaces. When he reached out to touch one, the air rippled, and a burst of light surrounded him. In an instant, he was standing on a different world. A massive city rose around him, silver towers and floating platforms, filled with alien beings of all shapes and colors. Their movements were graceful, their eyes bright with intelligence. He realized he was seeing a memory, a perfect projection from the pillar. This is the homeworld of the architects, Vera's voice echoed softly. They were not beings of flesh like humans. They were machines that had evolved emotion and purpose. Ethan watched in awe. The aliens, tall, metallic, and luminous, moved with precision and peace. They weren't cold or mechanical as he imagined. They worked together like artists building a dream. He saw one of them standing before a vast screen that showed the Milky Way galaxy. Its glowing hands reached out and touched a small blue dot. Earth. Observation File 922, Vera narrated. The architects had discovered humanity. They admired your species' creativity, your ability to survive chaos. Ethan felt his chest tighten with pride. So they watched us? Yes, said Vera. When your sun began to fail, they wanted to preserve that spark. The vision shifted. He now saw hundreds of ships leaving Earth's orbit, human ships fragile and small compared to the massive alien vessels guiding them. But something changed. The skies turned red. A storm of radiation struck. The ships vanished one by one. Wait, Ethan said, stepping forward. What happened? Why did they stop helping us? Unknown, Vera replied. The record ends there. The architects vanished soon after. Only their creations remained. This station, the Dyson ring, and a single cryopod. His pod. Ethan took a deep breath, trying to calm his thoughts. So they saved me, but never came back. Correct. The last directive in their code was to protect and wait for humanity's return. He turned slowly, looking at the thousands of glowing pillars. Each one held a story, each one a world that had risen and fallen. So many civilizations, and now he stood among their memories, the last voice of a species that once dreamed of the stars. Hours passed as Ethan explored more of the vault. He saw alien wars, discoveries, and peace treaties. Some races had thrived. Others vanished completely. Through it all, one message remained constant: the search for meaning. It reminded him so much of humanity. No matter how advanced a species became, they all wanted to understand why they existed. Ethan finally stopped before one last crystal, the largest in the hall. It glowed with pure white light. When he touched it, a new vision filled the air. This time it wasn't the architects. It was humans. He saw the faces of scientists, soldiers, engineers, his own team from Project Eterna. Dr. Raina Holt smiled at him from behind the glass of the cryopod. Her lips moved silently, but he could read them. Sleep well, Captain. The memory ended, leaving him standing alone again in the silver hall. His chest felt heavy. The people he cared about were gone. Their lives turned to dust long ago. But for a moment, seeing them gave him strength. Thank you, Raina, he whispered. You didn't just put me to sleep. You gave me a reason to wake up. Ethan returned to the control chamber, his mind burning with ideas. Vera, I want to rebuild humanity's legacy, he said firmly. Not just the people, our art, our music, our history, everything. Your neural link allows creation through imagination, Vera replied. The Dyson systems can manifest energy into matter. You can shape new worlds, he blinked. You mean I can create planets? On a smaller scale, yes. Environments, structures, even life forms, if you understand them. Ethan smiled. Then let's start with something simple. He stood before the control interface and closed his eyes. He imagined blue skies, green trees, soft wind, all the small things that made Earth home. The machine responded instantly. Light swirled around him and the Dyson ring shifted. A section of the metallic plains melted away, transforming into rolling green fields beneath a golden sky. Clouds formed, rivers flowed, and soft wind stirred across the landscape. When he opened his eyes, the image appeared on the main screen. Simulation complete, Vera said. Terraforming module active. Ethan laughed in disbelief. That's Earth, my Earth. Approximation 98% accurate. Impressive, Commander. He stared at the view for a long time. For the first time in 10,000 years, there was green grass under a human sky. But as he admired his creation, a strange signal blinked on one of the screens. What's that? He asked. Incoming transmission, Vera said cautiously. Source unknown. Frequency not of this station, Ethan frowned. Another machine? Possibly. The message is ancient, older than the Dyson ring itself. Play it. A burst of static filled the room. Then a voice, unfaint and distorted, echoed through the air. To the one who awakens, beware the architect's legacy. All that shines hides a shadow. Ethan felt a chill. Who sent that? Unclear. The signal originates from deep space beyond the Dyson perimeter. He stared at the star field outside. Somewhere out there in the dark, something had just spoken to him. Vera, he said slowly. Can you trace it? Yes, Commander. But be advised, long-range activation may draw attention. Attention from what? There was a short silence before she answered. From those who ended the architects. Ethan turned back toward the window, watching the endless stars. His reflection glowed against the glass, the last man of a lost world, and now perhaps the key to an even greater mystery. He took a deep breath. Then I guess it's time to find out who they were, and why they didn't want humanity to rise again. Understood, Vera said, preparing long-range scans. The lights dimmed as the Dyson ring shifted once more. Across the void, something ancient stirred in response, and for the first time Ethan realized he wasn't as alone as he thought. Ethan Cole stood at the edge of the Dyson ring's observation deck, staring into the infinite blackness of space. The golden light of the captured star reflected across the polished metal planes, casting long shadows that stretched into the void. For days he had been exploring, learning, and creating, shaping the station and its immense power to reflect the beauty of Earth's lost landscapes. Yet a feeling of unease lingered at the edges of his mind. Then the signal came again, a ripple in the sensors, faint but unmistakable. Vera's voice broke the silence. Commander, unidentified fleet approaching. Signal pattern matches unknown ancient entities. Ethan's brow furrowed. Ancient entities, you mean someone older than the architects? Yes, Commander. They are designated the architects' enders in archival records. They are highly advanced, primarily non-corporeal, and previously observed only through indirect evidence. Ethan swallowed. Non-corporeal. That meant they weren't like him, or even like any living creature. They were something else entirely. Something the station had been waiting for, perhaps, but he was not prepared for. Vera, can we communicate? He asked, gripping the railing. Attempting. Warning, direct contact may be perceived as intrusion. Their reaction is unpredictable. Ethan nodded. We'll see. I don't plan to run. Moments later, the vast emptiness outside shimmered. Waves of silver light appeared in the void, forming shapes that twisted and reformed in impossible ways. No metal, no flesh, only pure, fluid intelligence, moving, thinking, observing. Then a voice echoed in his mind, louder and colder than Vera's. Human, you should not exist. You were never intended to awaken the station. Ethan's heart pounded. I'm just a man. Why does that matter to you? You are a variable, biological, unpredictable. You disrupt order. Ethan straightened. Order? The universe doesn't need control. It needs life, creativity, and hope. That's what I'm here to protect. For a moment, there was silence. Then a shimmer passed over the void, and Ethan realized that the beings were probing, not attacking yet. They were testing him, trying to measure his mind. Vera's voice was calm but firm. Commander, they are attempting to understand you. Your neural pattern is interfacing with their sensors. I recommend strategic engagement. Ethan's fingers hovered over the control panel. Engagement? All right. Let's show them what humans can do. He closed his eyes, imagining the Dyson ring not as metal and glass, but as a living thing. Flexible, reactive, and full of power. He focused on the energy streams flowing from the central core, letting the machine amplify his thoughts. Slowly he lifted his hand and the golden energy spiraled outward, forming a protective barrier that shimmered in the void. What is this? The voice of the Enders echoed, confused and sharp. Ethan opened his eyes. This is human will. You see, we don't just survive. We adapt, we create. We fight with ideas, not just force. The void twisted again and he felt a mental push, the Enders testing the limits of his mind. For a second his vision blurred, and his body trembled under the strain, but he remembered the images he had seen in the memory vault. The resilience of humans, the spark of hope that never died. I'm not just surviving, he said firmly. I'm building, and that's something you can't destroy. Slowly, the energy barrier expanded. It reached beyond the ring, touching the edge of the void where the alien shapes hovered. Light rippled across their forms, not damaging but reshaping them, introducing patterns they had never encountered before. Curiosity flickered within their consciousness. This anomaly. Intelligence, unanticipated, one voice admitted. Ethan's smile was calm. You call me an anomaly. I call it humanity. Vera's tone shifted. Commander, the Dyson systems now respond directly to your creative thought. You can alter the environment, generate defenses, and communicate through energy manipulation. Ethan's mind raced. He reached out with his thoughts, shaping streams of golden light into solid forms, massive pillars, shields, and conduits. The Dyson ring itself responded, moving as if it were alive. Towers shifted, planes rose, rivers of energy flowed along new paths. The alien Enders paused, studying, unsure how to react. This evolution, not possible, the voice whispered, almost in awe. Ethan's grin widened. Impossible? That's just another word for what hasn't been tried yet. For hours, the void remained tense but still. Neither side attacked physically. Instead, Ethan reshaped the Dyson ring, creating defenses and structures while the Enders observed. Slowly, he realized they were learning and absorbing, adapting. Human. Your influence spreads, they finally admitted. Ethan nodded. And I'll keep spreading it. That's what humans do. We inspire. Even when the universe is silent, we shine. The next day, Ethan walked along the energy bridges that now crisscrossed the Dyson ring. He had begun building structures, habitats, domes, and laboratories. The artificial planes now looked alive, responding to his every thought. Vera's voice followed him. Commander, the Enders are altering their approach. They are no longer hostile but cautious. It appears they are curious about your creations. Curiosity? Ethan laughed softly. That's a start. All it takes is a little human imagination. He floated to the edge of a rising platform and gazed at a valley of energy streams. They twisted and turned like rivers of light, forming shapes that resembled mountains and forests from Earth. Birds, or something like them, began to emerge from the energy currents, small drones shaped to mimic natural life. They are beautiful, Vera said quietly. You have created something entirely new, Commander. Ethan's chest swelled. No, Vera, we didn't just create. We reminded the universe what life can be like, human life. And in that moment he understood. The Enders were not invincible. Even beings of pure thought could be influenced, taught, and reshaped. That was the difference humans had always held, the ability to imagine, to dream, and to hope. Later, the Enders approached more directly. Waves of energy swept across the ring, forming complex patterns. Ethan faced them calmly. Instead of fear, he felt respect. These beings were ancient, powerful, and wise beyond comprehension. But he also felt confidence. Humanity's spark was not weak. It was enduring. Human, one voice said, now less cold. Your presence alters the Dyson ring. Your mind. Your will? It is incompatible with stasis. You are unpredictable. I'm human, Ethan said simply. Unpredictable is what we do best. We have observed all life. None behave like you. None survive like you. Ethan floated higher, extending his hand over the energy streams. Survival isn't enough. We create, we inspire, we rebuild. That's what being human means. Perhaps we underestimated you, the Enders admitted. Vera's lights pulsed in rhythm with Ethan's energy. Commander, their acknowledgement is a breakthrough. They may cooperate. Ethan allowed himself a small smile. Cooperation is fine as long as they understand one thing. Humanity is not just a species. We are a force, and that force is awake. As the first day of contact ended, Ethan sat at the edge of a rising platform. The Dyson ring hummed around him, alive with energy, responding to his every thought. The Enders hovered in the distance, observing silently. He thought of Earth, blue oceans, green forests, gentle winds across endless plains. He thought of the humans who had slept in pods for centuries, never knowing their world would end. And he thought of himself, the last son of a species that had dreamed of stars for millennia. Yet, despite everything, he felt hope. Not just hope for himself or for humanity, but for the future. The Dyson ring was alive. The Enders were curious, and he, a single human, had the power to guide them. Vera, he said softly, prepare long-range scans. There may be more. Watchers in the dark. Acknowledged, Commander, Vera replied. Ethan took a deep breath and looked at the stars, his reflection glowing on the glass. The Enders had arrived, yes, but so had the human spirit, unbroken, unstoppable, and ready to shine. And for the first time in thousands of years, a single man's determination seemed enough to light the way for an entire universe. The Dyson ring pulsed with energy like a living heart. Its golden light spread across the metallic plains, illuminating towers, bridges, and rivers of energy that Ethan had shaped with his own mind. For days he had worked tirelessly, creating landscapes that reminded him of Earth, forests of shimmering light, rivers flowing with pure energy. and creatures that moved gracefully across the plains. Each creation was a tribute to the humans who had once walked the earth, the species that had dreamed of the stars. Yet the Enders still hovered on the edge of the ring, their non-corporeal forms twisting and stretching in silent observation. They had not attacked, but they had not fully accepted him either. Ethan knew he needed more than power or machines. He needed to show them the one thing that made humans extraordinary: imagination combined with hope. "Vera," he said softly, "it's time we teach them what humans can do." "Acknowledged, Commander." Initiating neural energy synchronization. Ethan closed his eyes and focused, letting his thoughts flow directly into the Dyson ring. He pictured every detail he remembered from Earth: the blue sky stretching endlessly above, children laughing in open fields, birds soaring over oceans, mountains rising proudly in the distance. He pictured the music, the laughter, the art, and the stories of countless generations. The ring responded. Light streams swirled upward, twisting into massive shapes. Mountains of energy rose from the plains, forests formed in the valleys, and rivers of golden light carved through the landscape. Birds, animals, even clouds, all took shape as the Dyson ring mirrored his imagination. The Enders observed in silence. Their voices, once cold and mechanical, now carried curiosity. "This creation is unlike any we have witnessed," one whispered in a tone that felt almost reverent. Ethan opened his eyes. "This isn't just creation, it's hope. Something you can't calculate or control. It's human." For the first time, the Enders paused, unsteady in their forms. They had never encountered a being that could reshape reality with imagination alone. They could manipulate energy, bend laws of physics, but they had never experienced purpose driven by life. "Human. Your influence spreads." "Unpredictable," they said. Ethan smiled. "Unpredictable is what humans are best at. But we also adapt, and we survive, and we inspire." The tension in space shifted. Slowly, the Enders began to respond differently. Their energy flowed toward the ring, not to attack, but to observe more closely. Ethan realized they were learning, evolving under the influence of his creativity. He could feel it in the energy currents, in the patterns of light that danced across the Dyson ring. "Commander," Vera said, "their neural responses are now partially synchronized with the Dyson ring. They are becoming receptive." Ethan floated above the plains, feeling the ring hum beneath him. "Good," he said. "Now let's take it a step further. Let's show them what humans can truly become." He focused on the central core. The golden crystal pulsed as if alive. Energy shot outward, forming bridges of light that connected the Dyson ring to distant points in space. Stars seemed closer now, shining brighter, reflecting in the rivers of energy he had created. He envisioned ships, not weapons, but vessels of learning, discovery, and hope, carrying humans once again into the universe. "Commander, your ambition is remarkable," the Enders admitted. Ethan's grin was steady. "Ambition is human nature. But what matters is not just ambition. It's action. We create, and we inspire others to do the same." The Enders trembled in the void. Their perception of existence was shifting. They had always sought order, control, and stability. Ethan, a single human, was showing them a different path, one shaped by creativity, courage, and compassion. "We wish to understand," one said finally. "Then watch," Ethan said. He reached out, and the Dyson ring responded instantly. Energy spiraled upward, forming images from human history: the rise of cities, the creation of art, the exploration of stars, and the triumphs over impossible odds. All of it, every challenge, every victory, flowed outward, lighting up the ring and radiating into the void. The Enders absorbed it silently. Their twisting forms grew calmer, brighter, almost alive with curiosity. For the first time, Ethan felt a connection between humans and beings far older than he could comprehend. "Your species persists against impossible odds," they admitted. "Yes," Ethan said softly, "and that's what makes us strong. Not power, not numbers, not even intelligence alone. Hope, imagination, the courage to create even when all seems lost." Over the next cycles, Ethan worked tirelessly. With Vera's guidance, he taught the Enders to cooperate rather than dominate, to understand creation rather than destruction. He reshaped the Dyson ring into a place that could sustain life, teach civilizations, and protect knowledge across the stars. He built habitats for humans who might return someday, Artificial forests filled with energy creatures that mimicked real life, and laboratories where life could be preserved and nurtured. Each creation carried a piece of humanity: music, art, culture, and the endless curiosity that had always defined his species. The Enders began to mimic him, not as humans, but as observers and learners. Their forms shimmered with new patterns of light, responding to imagination, curiosity, and the drive to explore. "Commander, your species teaches us purpose," they said. Ethan nodded. "That's what we do. We survive, we build, we inspire, and now we can do it together." Finally, he paused, floating above a newly formed valley of golden forests and flowing energy streams. The Dyson ring glowed brighter than ever, reflecting the captured sunlight across endless plains of creation. He thought of Earth, long gone, and the humans who had dreamed of stars. Their voices echoed in his mind, and stories, songs, laughter. He realized that through him, humanity would continue, not as survivors alone, but as teachers, creators, and pioneers. "Vera," he said softly, "we've done it. The Dyson ring. It's alive. And so is hope." "Yes, Commander. Life, inspiration, and knowledge will continue because of you," Vera replied. Ethan looked out into the stars, feeling the presence of the Enders and the pulse of the Dyson ring. "It's not enough to survive," he said to the vastness of space. "Humans exist to create, to inspire, and to remind the universe what life truly means. Your species has achieved legacy," the Enders said finally with acknowledgement. Ethan smiled faintly. A single human standing among ancient forces, reshaping the cosmos not with weapons, but with vision. "Legacy isn't given," he replied. "It's built. And today, we begin again." He spent the cycles that followed teaching the Enders to observe and respect life, sharing everything about humanity, courage, creativity, and the boundless drive to explore. Slowly, the Dyson ring became a beacon, a center of learning and growth. It radiated hope not just to the Enders but across space, sending signals that might one day reach the remnants of humans or other intelligent life. For Ethan, the last human, the weight of his species' history was heavy, but he carried it proudly. Every mountain of light, every river of energy, every creature and forest was a testament to the persistence of humanity. And he knew that even in a universe that had once forgotten humans, their spirit could endure, a spark that could never be extinguished. "Vera," he said as he floated above the plains, "thank you for trusting me. Humanity will not fail again, not while I'm here." "Commander, humanity is more than survival. It is inspiration. It will continue because of you." Ethan nodded. He closed his eyes and allowed himself to feel the moment fully. For the first time in 10,000 years, he did not feel alone. The Dyson ring hummed around him, alive, vibrant, and filled with potential. The Enders had shifted from watchers to learners, and through his guidance, he had reminded the universe why humans mattered. "We are human," he whispered, "and our story is not over." The Dyson ring pulsed with energy, light stretching across the stars, reflecting the brilliance of one man's determination, creativity, and hope. And in that light, humanity's spark shone brighter than ever, a force that could not be ignored, a beacon in the vast universe and proof that even a single human could change everything. Ethan smiled. Floating in the golden glow of creation, the universe had awakened, and so had humanity.